Welcome to the world of Harthron. This is my first video shoot ever on YouTube. My name is Bill Hart. I will be your dungeon master and storyteller about my world of Harthron. And the first thing I would like to do is I have Dungeon Crate. This is my first Dungeon Crate ever. I saw the reviews on Nerdarchy, a couple of their episodes, and thought, oh, that is a really cool item to add some flair to your game. So I thought, well, let me go ahead and order this, and why not start with a review. I'd like to give a shout out to Wayne, who helped me with Dungeon Crate, kind of get this all set up. And so why don't we go ahead and start. I'll review what's in the box here, and then kind of go into an explanation of who am I, what is the world of Harthron, and why am I going to open up my world and share it here on YouTube with the public after gaming for almost 40 years now. So why don't we go ahead and open this up. So just got this today actually in the mail. So here we go. First thing here is an inventory card of what is inside the Dungeon Crate, and we'll kind of go through what we have here and see what we have. So first we have a silver dragon to go into the game from Darkhaven Bones Reaper Hobby Q. I'll probably have one of my players paint this for me, and then maybe use it against them. They'll be looking forward to that. Also got here a bag with a couple dice. I'm assuming this is some sort of game. Let's see here what it says. Okay, I'm not sure what this is. It has some dice, I guess maybe open it up a little bit and see what's in here. So, some little counters of moons. Some more counters. Little potions. Okay, so some potions here. Some shields. This has got to be for some sort of game, I would assume. And a couple of six-sided dice. You can never not have too many dice. And we also have here a little coin here. It looks from almost Game of Thrones. Oh, it is Joffrey. Game of Thrones coin here. Who likes that guy? And we also have here a little bag. Let's see here. I have a little card. Strength, Con, Initiative, hit points. So Dungeon Crate, Advanced. Okay, code. So 10% off. Okay, so I'll have to take a look at this website and we'll see what else is in here. Okay, so some different types of counters here. Little people. Charmed. Alright. Poisoned. Alright, some other little different things here. Okay, frightened. Not sure here. I'll have to look at that a little bit more. We have a Dungeon Crate sticker. We have some more little tokens. Little attachments here. Let's see what we can use those for. Dungeon Crate pen. Alright. And I guess this must have fell out of one of the bags here. Blinded. Alright. I'll figure out how to use that kind of stuff. Maybe some of the spells that I have here. And then Oh, we have a couple little figures here. It looks like a little goblin with an axe. Where are these figures from? And this. Alright. Oops. Okay, a woman here. Guess we can get her painted too. So maybe have one of my players who loves to paint miniatures do that for me. I do not paint figures. I did it a long time ago when I was probably 11 or 12 years old. But luckily, my mother is an artist, and she did all the painting of my miniatures. I still have quite a few of those from back when I started playing the game, and when I was 10 years old, 1977. So I am one of the original gamers, an OG, if you'd say, for D&D. I've been playing it a long time. So then here we have, it looks like Heroes of High Fantasy here. So it looks like an adventure. So this will be good. Say kind of what level characters this is for. Okay, considered beginner challenge. Consider 1 to 5th level characters or intermediate. Oh, I guess you can kind of adjust the adventure. For me, what I do is a lot of adventures. I learned a long, long time ago, actually, when I started playing the game. And here's another hobgoblin lair. So probably use the maps in here and here, maybe some NPCs and so on. So when I learned, and that's it for the box. This is great. I'm sure I will find uses for all these little items as I look through them a little bit more. And looking forward to the next Dungeon Crate that is coming out here in a couple weeks. And can't wait to review that and have this stuff for my players to use or for me to use against them in the game. And so a little bit about me, a little bit about the world of Harthron, and what you can kind of expect from me going forward and my group going forward. So, as I said, I've been playing D&D since I was 10 years old. 1977 was started. A friend of mine had an older brother, and he was I think going into high school and teenager. I was 10 at the time, and it was a summer, and he dragged my friend and myself into their house on a summer day and said, "Hey, you guys are going to play this game with another friend of his." And we played, and I was hooked right away. The imagination of the game just took me by storm, and I never looked back. I started playing the game probably every day that I can remember that summer. And by the end of the summer, I was actually DMing. In fact, I was thrown into DMing. The same older brother of my friend, he said, "You're going to run this adventure." It was the first G1 of the series of Giants against the Hill Giants. I think that's the name of the title. And I ran it, and he kicked butt. And the reason why he kicked butt is he read the whole module cover to cover, gave it to me to run, and so he knew exactly what to do, how to get past traps, everything. Knew it upside and down, and I'm trying to run this as a 10-year-old. I felt super discouraged, beat down that I just handed this whole adventure to him. But I learned a valuable lesson, 2 valuable lessons. One, I knew I could DM at the age of 10, and that I would never ever use a adventure exactly to how it's written or the maps. So from there on out, I either created my own adventures, which I did at the start. I didn't have a lot of money. My family wasn't rich. And so I loved creating the maps, dungeons, and my mom and dad bought me my first book, and they didn't buy me a player's handbook. They didn't buy me the Dungeon Master's Guide, the first hardcover book. And I take this back. I did go purchase the softcover books, the chainmail, the wizardry. I had the old books, the old little box set. I wish I would have kept them. They'd probably be worth a ton of money now. But I think I probably ended up selling them back to the game store. I was known for doing that coming up as a little kid, as I would turn and sell books around for money, and then buy some new books for whatever else was coming out. So the first book I got, my parents bought me, was the Monster Manual. And so I think that's also what helped me kind of become a DM and creating adventures right off the bat with the Dungeon Master, or not, with the Monster Manual. From there, it just took off. Next thing you know, I was DMing my friend, his brother, his friend. I got my brother that's a year younger than me involved, a couple other neighborhood kids, and I was DMing. I was the only DM. As time went on, I moved away, made new friends, got them involved in the game, and continued on all the way through high school. And then I joined the Army. I went away to Germany for a couple of years. Traveled really all around the world with the military. Had a great military experience. I was in the Army. Did a lot of great things, and spent 10 years in the service. And kind of D&D of course, took a backseat. I'd occasionally play on a military base if some guys were playing. Sometimes I'd run into a game at the rec center and I'd sit in or play. I even ran a couple times different bases, but it was really just, it was maybe a session here or there. I did a lot of traveling when I was in Europe, took advantage of that. Being 19, 20-year-old over there, I traveled a ton. Came back home. I was married. I have 5 kids. I have 2 grandsons. One is 9, who's actually playing D&D with us, and actually kind of inspired me to keep going. I almost walked away from the game after a long time of playing and really DMing. But I kind of got a spark fired. Part because of my players, mainly because of my grandson, my son that plays as well. And I thought, my players kind of told me about 5e. We've been playing 3.5 forever. We looked at 4e, played a couple times. I just didn't like it. I felt like I was running a video game, not actually playing the game I grew up and loved. And even with 3.5, it became very mechanical, or crunchy is what I've learned online. And I'm not a crunchy DM. I'm a very story-driven DM. I have an incredible imagination. And that's kind of what's brought me to here. I was thinking about sitting down and just writing a book or books about my world, about the different places, and really more in the back setting of my NPCs in my world, not telling a story from my player's point of view. More of the NPCs, maybe mention my PCs, some of the colorful characters, but really it was going to be just more about my world. And then my kids kind of convinced me that why not tell my story on YouTube instead of becoming a hermit and sitting in my basement typing away for the next 3 to 10 years or whatever and try to write a book and hopefully it gets published. Maybe it doesn't. Why not take my story to online? And because as they're the new generation, they're like, our attention span is short. And go the way of YouTube. Tell your story. Share your world with other people. And so that's what I'm doing. I am going to share my world of Harthron with people. You'll see my ugly mug for a while until my players are comfortable, or if they're not comfortable showing who they are or sharing their identities, that's fine. They know that I want to share the story with others, and even if I can just, maybe, help somebody out on a Saturday or Sunday, they're watching our game, and they had a bad day or bad week, and maybe we make that a little bit better. Or maybe a 10-year-old, like when I was a 10-year-old, discovers this online and watches and falls in love with the game. For me, up until that point, I was like a CD student. I was really good at math, great at math, hated reading, hated writing, and then D&D came. And that summer changed everything. I was forced to read. I had to read the rules of the game. I wanted to know what my characters could do. And then I started DMing. So now I'm all of a sudden writing stuff. And my grades completely changed in school. I went back that fall, became an A and B student, fell in love with history, especially Greek mythology. Really any mythologies that I could get my hands on. Read, of course, The Hobbit. It's probably my favorite book of all times. Read that cover to cover, 20 times. Lord of the Rings as well. Just fell in love with that, with those books. And so grateful when the movies finally were made, and I saw my imagination, come to light. Everything that I read as a kid all of a sudden was in the big screen in front of me, and I was so grateful that was done. And so now I'm going to share my world with who knows who will watch this, but that's what I'm going to do. I've had my world, for probably 30 of the 40 years I've been DMing, and it really came into light more about 20 years ago, and so the world is basically kind of like Earth in a sense. There's a lot of water. There's 9 continents in the world, and with dozens of other islands, spread out throughout the world. And my players have only actually played in 6 of the 9 continents. They haven't even visited 3 of the continents in my world, and that's over, like I said, a 30-year span. And that's kind of where we are. So I'm not going to kind of share everything yet. I don't want to ramble on. I'll let that kind of come out. So my plan is, starting this Saturday, we are going to finish up my last 3.5 session with a group of characters that are on a continent called Terran, which is a very dangerous continent. There's actually only 3 cities on this whole continent. It's very dangerous past the mountains, prehistoric. So we have some dinosaurs that could come into play if they go through the mountain pass, which they haven't done. Right now they are in the midst of trying to free some dwarves that are enslaved with some giants, actually forcing them to smith for them, and these giants are turning around selling armor and weapons to the highest bidder. There's actually an orc nation forming that is purchasing some of these weapons and armor. So they are going to free the dwarves. The last 3.5, they wanted this group to be 3.5 so they don't mess up in freeing the dwarves if they switch to 5e. We just recently switched to 5e, probably about 2 months ago, with a brand new group of characters. They may come into play later on. It was more for a test series to see if we really liked it before I went full hardy to go, okay, we're going to switch over to 5e. But I have to say, I fell in love with 5e. I feel like it's more about the story again. I mean, I did a hard review looking at Nerdarchy was a great source of kind of looking back at some of their old videos when they were reviewing 5e when it was coming out. And then some other DMs that have their YouTube channels, and those were all informative. And then I started watching some games, which that's why I couldn't believe. I'm like, people are actually watching people play D&D. And believe it or not, I got hooked as well. I mean, for me, it's listening. I don't necessarily watch them play on YouTube. It's more or less I put a earplug in while I'm typing away some sort of report at work, or even at home, working on my own game, and just I was like, wow, okay, maybe I could do this. And seeing that now all of a sudden, D&D seems to be kind of cool. And it's okay to be a geek or a nerd and, let it out. For the longest time, I was a closet geek, I would say. Not looking at me now, but I used to be a big-time marathon runner. In the military, I was a huge athlete. And you wouldn't know that, I've played Dungeons and Dragons at all. And my friends, my close friends and family, of course, know I play, especially if they come down my basement. My poker players, I'm a poker player, used to be a semi-professional online player, but that's all in the past. And they would see my figures and all my D&D books that are in my man cave. So besides my poker table and poker chips all spread over the place, there's also maps of Middle Earth, or all of the 3.5, 2.5, first edition books, all the miniatures I have. That's all in the open. They see when they come in out of my man cave, it's definitely a man geek type of cave. And with my grandson kind of in those steps, he loves everything nerdy, and kind of thought about pushing him towards sports. But he's super smart, and I don't want to push the geek away from him. And he loves D&D, and so why not, encourage that and let him play. So please forgive him when he is playing. Remember, he's 9. And he's still learning the game and maturing, and so hopefully over years he'll become a much better player, and who knows, maybe he'll become a dungeon master after his grandfather. And so as I said, this Saturday I will run my last 3.5 game, and then we're going to convert those characters to 5e. Have to nerf some of them down, change them a little bit. If you watch our game, you'll see kind of why. And then Sundays, I run a different group, and they are in the Ganor Empire. And the Ganor Empire, this group, the Ganor Empire is really almost like the Roman Empire. I've kind of taken that theme. It's very anti-magic, even though the ruler of the empire, Emperor Hoagland, is believed to be a lich. And that family, the Hoagland family, after hundreds and hundreds of years, basically drained the the lands of the empire through magic. Their magic, basically, their source of magic actually comes from the earth. So it's become very desolate, especially in the centers. The desert. It's my only true large desert, just dry desert in the center. And actually, none of my campaigns have actually even gone into the center of the empire, where the city is called Marn, where this emperor lives. No one has even ventured that far. They've tried a little bit, but I kind of got foiled. There's a lot of spies, a lot of intrigue there. You have to be careful who you're talking to. Church of Cordal, which is my god of war, is the church of the state. And if you're a mage, you have to be registered as a mage or work for the Ganor Empire, or you can be hunted down. And so more to come. I think this is probably long enough. I've probably rambled on a lot, but I'm looking forward for anybody to watch our stories. And as I said, hopefully I can put a smile. My group can put a smile on somebody that had a rough day, and they watch our game, or maybe introduce somebody to the game, and that now they want to play. And it maybe not be Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe it'd be another game. I've played, dozens of different role-playing games and dozens of war games, but those stories can wait, and more to come. And please feel free to ask me questions, and please critique our game. That is fine. No rules lawyering. Kind of play the game. You guys will see some of my home rules come out. The game, I like the story keep moving, and I'm really about what does the character want to do, not what the player feels is the most optimal move. I'm trying to get away from that. That happened with our 3.5 game. As I said, it became very mechanical, and it seemed to where the players were really trying to build characters on, how can they make a super character versus just playing the character and playing out the story. So for now, I'm signing off. This is the World of Harthron, Bill Hart, and please, I hope you enjoy our stories coming up this weekend.